Hi, everybody. I'm Charlene Reinhardt. Make sure you subscribe to Wealthy Women Daily on YouTube and give this video a thumbs up. I want as many people to be able to listen to this as possible because I've been hearing a lot of conversations about retirement. The big question that's on everybody's minds is, can I afford to retire? And here's a question I want you to dive deeper into to help you think about retirement. If you lost your main source of income, would you still be able to maintain your lifestyle for a year? If not, you need to watch this video. We are going to dive into a video made by CNBC called Why Saving for Retirement Feels Impossible. It's time to not only talk about the problems, but focus on the solutions that you can take right now.
Retirement is the final chapter of the American dream. But the dream of the golden years is quickly turning into a fairy tale.
Retiring in America today is not easy. It is a very tall mountain to climb.
More than a third of Americans today feel unprepared or unsure if they're on track for retirement. And nearly a third of seniors say they either plan to work through the age of 70 or never retire in their lives.
I'm not.
Think about these stats. 37% of people feel unprepared to retire, and a third of seniors feel that they will be working during retirement. When I look at these things, it obviously triggers a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts, and a lot of actions that I want to take to make sure it doesn't happen. And so before you turn 50, it's so important to talk to older people, see what they are going through so that you can craft your roadmap, because it's hard to plan ahead for something that you've never been through, right? So we are going through this retirement series so that you can see what older people are facing, so that you can become more attached to these stories, immerse yourself in it, and craft the life that you want to have. Because in order to have that life, you have to start planning for it now. But let's see what people are looking forward to in retirement, or what's really going on in retirement, because it's a lot different than what we expect when we're younger.
Want to be rich. I just like to have enough to where I could be comfortable.
The pandemic, a war in Europe, rate hikes, as well as fears of a recession have also led to great turmoil in the market, wiping out an estimated $3.4 trillion from retirement accounts during the first half of 2022.
The United States is definitely facing a retirement crisis. If we don't do anything about it, years down the line, you're going to wind up with a lot more seniors in poverty, reliance on public services.
Okay, when you hear retirement crisis, what comes to mind? When you hear somebody saying, if you don't do anything about it, we're going to be in trouble later, what comes to mind? For me, I got my paper, pen, I'm ready to jot down some notes and find out what I need to do right now, right? And so if you are in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, and you're living your best life, you're starting your family, you're paying off student loan debt, you're probably thinking, well, how in the world am I going to think about retirement? And I would say, start small, start where you're at. You don't have to make massive changes right now, right? I remember when I was in my 20s, I started my career in financial services. I took advantage of my company's 401k plan. That's an employer-sponsored retirement plan that allows you to contribute a certain amount up to the IRS limit every year. So for 2023, that limit was $22,500. You could have money deducted from your paycheck that goes automatically into your 401k to help you save for retirement. Another bonus of one of those employer-sponsored retirement plans like the 401k, 403b, 457 is that it reduces your taxes that you have to pay in the current year. It reduces the amount of money that you're taxed on in the current year. So if you're trying to save money in taxes, well, stashing money away in a retirement account will do just that. So it serves a double bonus of helping you beef up your retirement account while at the same time reducing the amount of money you pay taxes on now, because you're going to delay those taxes until later when you start withdrawing the money. So you want to ask yourself, what can I do now so that I won't be in a retirement crisis? I see this as the norm. I don't want it to be my norm. So you want to look at your employer-sponsored retirement accounts and find out how much you can contribute every year, and then see if your employer will contribute any money any year. Type in the chat, have you invested money in your employer-sponsored retirement plans? Is that something important to you? I know everybody doesn't trust the system or feel comfortable with investing dollars in their employer's plan. So are you doing it? What are you thinking about your employer's plan, and what questions are you asking before you do that? 2, if you want more flexibility in your retirement accounts, you can always opt in for an individual retirement account. That's an IRA, and they come in 2 flavors. You have a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA. Now, with the Roth IRA, it was meant to encourage low to moderate income earners to save for retirement. So you have to fall under a certain income threshold to qualify for that account, and those income thresholds change every year. We'll be going into that in a later video. But the benefits of a Roth is that you can put after-tax dollars in to your account. So you paid the taxes this year, and now you're putting after-tax dollars into your account. You can invest those funds any way that you like, any way that your brokerage allows you to invest the funds. So they may have traditional assets like stocks, mutual funds, ETFs. You can invest in those things. You can manage your own portfolio because it's an individual retirement account. Now, when you're ready to withdraw the money in your Roth IRA in retirement, once you've reached 59 and a half and have satisfied the requirements of the 5-year rule, then your money is 100% tax-free because you've already paid taxes on it. So if you're looking to diversify your retirement income sources, having a Roth IRA that's tax-free can be a winner. And it can also help if you are trying to build a dividend income portfolio and you're trying to build an extra stream of income that's tax-free. You can throw that money, throw those investments into a Roth IRA and reap the benefits of that later. The downside of a Roth IRA is, 1, you have to make under a certain amount in order to get access to a Roth IRA. But 2, you don't get any tax benefits in the current year. So you have to ask yourself, do I think my tax bill will be greater later, or will it be greater now, to see if it makes sense to pay taxes on your money now or delay your taxes? Because your other option is a traditional IRA. If your income is under a certain amount, you can deduct some of your traditional Roth IRA, your traditional IRA funds, the money that you contribute to that account. So a traditional IRA, it allows you to bypass taxes now if you make under a certain amount, but in exchange for that, you'll be able to take your money out later, hopefully at a lower tax rate. So if you think you'll pay less taxes in the future, it may make sense to stuff your money in a traditional IRA so that you don't have to pay the high taxes now when you're in a higher tax bracket. So those are some of the decisions that you can start thinking about. Your employer-sponsored retirement account, whether it be a 401k, 403b, or some other employer-sponsored retirement plan, depending on the job that you have, or your individual retirement account. Your individual retirement account comes with lower limits. So for 2023, you could contribute as much as $6,500 to a Roth or traditional IRA if you are under 50. Once you turn 50, then you can contribute an additional $1,000 catch-up contribution. So you can contribute up to $7,500 to an IRA if you are 50 and over. But those are things you should be thinking about right now. Those are just 2 of the pieces of the retirement pie. But there's also emergency and regular savings accounts and different assets that you can add to your portfolio to sustain you during retirement. But let's see what other people have to say about retirement and how it's potentially affecting their long-term goals.
Is a myth.
The U.S. retirement system is stronger than it's ever been. Retirement incomes have never been higher. Retirement savings have never been higher. Participation in retirement plans has never been higher. All the things we would like our retirement system to be doing, it is doing.
So, is America facing a retirement crisis? And if so, can it be stopped?
Okay, so let's talk about that. Are you saving more than you did in previous years? Look at all of your retirement accounts. It's so important to know how much money you have in your accounts to determine if you'll be able to retire in the future and what moves you need to make right now. So look at those retirement accounts and see if you are saving at a higher rate. Are you putting more money into your IRAs or other retirement plans?
My name is Juanita Dykes. I live in Rural Retreat, Virginia. I've been retired for 6 years now. I've had a number of jobs. I've worked in factories all my life. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to people to tell me that I needed to save for retirement. I thought I would get paid by the government.
Did you hear her? She said she did not listen to people who told her to save for retirement. I remember when I was in high school, I was around 16 or 17 years old, and my economics teacher told us, as soon as you start working, as soon as you start earning money, open an IRA, open a Roth IRA. Age is not a requirement to open those accounts. You just need earned income to have access to those accounts. So as soon as you start working, make sure you have access to those accounts. I know there are more glamorous things to do when you're younger, when you're a teenager in your 20s and 30s, right? We have competing priorities. But if you don't start saving just a little piece, just imagine the type of retirement you will have. And I always tell people to do a retirement experiment. Stress test your ability to retire. When I was working in corporate America, I would do stress tests for banks to see how they would perform under certain situations. Well, you can do that with your retirement savings and your retirement lifestyle. Look at different scenarios and see, based on your income, lifestyle, and expenses, all of that, how your life will turn out, because that will influence the decisions that you make right now. If you know, oh, I could potentially be homeless if I don't make certain moves right now, that's going to change how you save, how you invest, how you look at your financial future. So do those things right now. But listen to her. She said people were telling her you need to save for retirement. If you don't start doing it, how else are you going to have money available to fund your lifestyle?
Government, you'll have enough to live on. Wrong, you don't. I get $1,574 from Social Security. I get $631 from my pension. You pay all your bills, car payment, all your utilities, all your insurance, all that together. It just don't add up.
Whew, it is not adding up. Did you hear that? $1,574 a month for Social Security, $631 from a pension. That's a little over $2,100. What can you do with $2,100 when you are in an environment of inflation? Everything is higher than it was previously. And let's talk about housing. Housing and healthcare are two major costs that we will have to deal with in retirement. How much do you expect to spend in healthcare? Think about how much your insurance is costing now. If you're expected to have more problems later on, that could be thousands of dollars going out the door. I had a conversation with somebody and they told me that they had to choose between their medications or paying their bills every month because the medications were costing them $1,000 a month for medications. Imagine that. You really have to take that into consideration. It is not enough money. So ask yourself, am I saving enough? Because I don't know if I will have government sources of income to sustain me.
Americans aren't saving enough for retirement.
I don't have no savings. I'm probably in the red at the bank before you write a check and then you don't have nothing to cover it. Then when you get your next check, all that extra money comes out.
The median retirement account balance for those approaching retirement sat at $89,716 in 2022. That translates to less than $500 per month over a 15-year retirement span.
Baby boomers, they were well into their mid 40s before 401ks came along and they had the opportunity to save. When they entered the workforce, the assumption was Social Security and traditional pensions. Now that they're reaching retirement, the ground rules have changed and the expectations are that they would have saved more along the way.
The rules have changed. We now have to fund our own retirement. So if you are not saving anything, you won't have a retirement. You will be working through retirement. And one thing I hear from people over 60 all the time is, I wish I would have saved more. So you want to look at how much are you saving? Are you saving enough for the future version of yourself?
Place I worked was just like a factory job, and you got paid. That's it. No extra nothing or nothing. We didn't have paid holidays. You didn't have vacation. You didn't have nothing. You just worked.
The other problem is that during times of economic crisis, there's a lot of leakage out of retirement savings plans. Whereas things like pensions and Social Security, they're a lockbox. You don't touch that money no matter what. That is there for your future. IRAs and 401ks often tend to get tapped when people run into unemployment or health issues, medical expenses.
In our own research of retirement,
Let's take a look at that. IRAs and 401ks tend to be tapped if you run into issues, emergencies come up, healthcare expenses, so many things that can cause you to tap into your IRA and 401k. So what do we do to combat that? We need to have an emergency fund so that we won't be forced to take money out from those retirement accounts and be penalized and taxed for those decisions. So let's talk about our emergency fund that we're going to set up. Typically, you set up a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, but depending on the predictability of your income and your lifestyle, you may want to set aside more funds, more like 6 months to a year. So to calculate that, you want to find out how much does it cost to be you for a month, right? Calculate your rent or mortgage, your light bill, your gas bill, your car insurance, your health insurance, your groceries, all of those essentials that are on your list, calculate it, add it up, see how much it costs to be you. Let's say your number is $3,000 to be you. You're going to multiply that $3,000 times 3, which is $9,000 to get your 3 months of emergency fund. And then after you have your emergency fund, you want to tuck away money for savings because you still want to be able to live life now. Right? One of the mistakes that people say they've made is to not fully enjoy their youth, their younger years like they wanted to. What do you want to do right now? Be very intentional. Time waits for no one. Time is your greatest asset. So you really have to think about the type of life you wanted to create. When I was in my 20s, I wanted to travel around the world, but not just traveling just for traveling. I wanted to do it with purpose. So I joined up with people and I traveled around the world with 100 other people for 6 months. We went to 15 cities within the US, Bermuda, Mexico, Denmark, Sweden, Belgium, and other countries. It was absolutely amazing. I'm so glad I did that for 6 months while I was in my 20s. It cost me, but I was able to get dividends from that investment in myself by looking at that as a learning experience and allowing that experience to help me become a writer. That was an instrumental piece of my career journey, right? I took it as more than traveling. I made it as a professional development opportunity where I can grow, but also I had fun, right? So you want to be able to blend your activities, make the most of your experiences while you're here. So that's why you want that savings account. Have that savings on hand so that you can have the flexibility to do those things. And you can have sub savings accounts to help you determine different savings amounts for different goals. So maybe you have a sub savings account because you want to buy a house or buy a new car or go to school or get a new certification or travel to a new destination, right? Those are things you want to do so that you can live now and be able to position yourself to have a more fruitful life later.
Retirees, we see that they're doing pretty well. However, they're not financially in a position to absorb a major financial shock. And a big example of that is the high cost of long-term care services and supports. If they have some sort of cataclysmic health crisis or need that long-term care, they just don't have the financial resources to be able to afford it.
1 in 5 Americans aged 65 and older said they spent more than $2,000 out of pocket on healthcare. A separate study found that more than a third of Americans over 65 are worried they're unable to afford healthcare services within the next 12 months.
If you go to a regular doctor, that's covered. But if you go to a specialist, that's like $30. I have an appointment this week with a specialist. I don't have the money to go. So I'll have to call and cancel that and redo it some other time.
Higher life expectancy also means that more retirees can outlive their.
Let's talk about healthcare again, because there are things you can do right now to plan for your healthcare expenses. Have you heard of a health savings account? It's a triple tax advantaged account that allows you to pay for qualified medical expenses with tax-free dollars. And those qualified medical expenses can be anything from menstrual supplies to prescription eyeglasses or contact lenses. There are a wide variety of qualified medical expenses out there that you can use your funds for. But you need to have a high deductible health plan in order to get access to an HSA. So it makes sense if you are fairly healthy and you don't need a lot of medical supplies or visits beyond your preventive care, then a high deductible health plan may make sense for you. Your premiums every month are lower, but you have to meet this high deductible before your insurance company will kick in and pay for some of your healthcare services with you. So think about an HSA because the money in your account rolls over every year. There is a certain limit to how much you can put in an account every year. So for example, for 2024, you can put up to $4,150 if you are an individual into an HSA. If you don't use that money, let's say you don't need to spend any of that money because you're fairly healthy during the year, you still have that $4,150 at the end of the year in your account. That money automatically rolls over to the next year and it keeps rolling over and over. There's no expiration date to use the funds. So during retirement, if you have healthcare costs, you can tap into that account in order to use that. I love the power of the HSA because you can invest that money so that it can grow exponentially. That's the goal, for it to grow exponentially if it's possible, right? Depends on the type of assets that you invest in. There are no risk-free investments. There's a risk that you take on with all types of investments. So you have to do your research and see which type of investment works best for your risk profile. But the money that you have in there can grow, it can roll over. Now you can have a substantial amount of money to pay for healthcare costs during retirement, because as you saw, it can be expensive. But what you can do right now is start planning ahead, not just having those accounts, but taking care of yourself. You haven't seen our Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit? Go to it. Go to that summit on the Wealthy Women Daily YouTube channel so that you can understand how to take care of your body, how to start relaxing, how to be stress-free, how to start exercising, do all those things to reduce your healthcare costs. Be very intentional with your morning routine, everything you do. I started walking in the mornings because I realized it's cheaper to get up and walk and instead of being in the emergency room later and paying thousands of dollars for that. So you choose how you want to allocate your money, but those are options for you.
Retirement savings. An analysis by the World Economic Forum found that men live 8.3 years longer than their retirement funds can pay for, while women live 10.9 years longer. Younger generations aren't faring any better. About 25% of non-retired adults in America have no retirement savings whatsoever.
A lot of people don't have access, or at least don't have consistent access to an employer-sponsored retirement plan. And we know from the behavioral science research that people don't walk into a bank and say, I want to open up an IRA.
Workers aged 25 to 34 had an average total saving rate of 10.5%, while workers under 25 had a saving rate of 8%, far from the recommended total saving rate of 15%.
And as we look at the changing landscape, especially millennials and Gen Z, they're entering the workforce with student loans, with debt that is unprecedented from earlier generations. Another issue impacting younger generations is they're going to change jobs many times over the course of their careers, as well as spend time in self-employment. So they're going to have to take a much more hands-on, do-it-yourself approach in managing their savings and investments and ensuring that they're saving enough to last their lifetime when they retire.
You need to make sure that you are saving enough to last their lifetime. One of the biggest fears is that your money will not be enough to sustain you your entire life, that you will outlive your money. You don't want that to happen. And people are living longer, so that's a big chance of that, depending on how much you save. But let's go back to the recommended savings rate is 15%, and we are all well below that. So what can we do? We can try to decrease our expenses or increase our income. Those are two ways that we can try to boost our savings rate up. Now, that can be hard because student loan debt, right? You want to increase your income potential, and so you go to school. Makes sense. You want to make sure you are going to school and getting profitable skills so that you can increase your value in the marketplace. I studied accounting and finance because I knew there would be job opportunities waiting for me when I graduated. So think about what you're studying, and also think about what other skills can you add to your portfolio. Even if you're out of school, you have to keep learning, keep growing, and keep being relevant and relatable in order to increase your value in the marketplace. When it comes to expenses, look at all the expenses you have: car insurance and other bills. Can you negotiate any of those bills to decrease how much you owe? When you take a look at the income and expenses, now you may have found some extra money to start saving more. And if you can increase your savings rate every year, right? Maybe start with 10%, then start going up to 20%, then 25%. You'll be in a better position to have more options in life. I always tell people the more you save and invest, the more options you will have in life.
I have considered going back to work, but I had a knee replacement 2 years ago, and the other one's trying to tell me it's about time for it. So I can't stand very long at a time. I won't say that I won't have to, because I might, if they don't get this Social Security straightened out to where we can have enough to live on.
In 2022, the Social Security Administration estimated that their reserve will deplete by 2034 unless Congress intervenes, putting Social Security benefits under threat.
Because of demographic changes during sort of the 70s and 80s, Social Security built up a large surplus and is now in the process of depleting that surplus.
Once depleted, retirees will only receive 78% of their benefits starting then.
It's not obviously the end of the world, and it doesn't mean Social Security is bankrupt at all, but it does mean a meaningful reduction in benefits that's really going to hurt people, especially at the bottom and even the middle.
Inflation has been the most disruptive force to retirement. A quarter of Americans are expected to delay their retirement due to rising consumer costs.
The worker is now the one that bears the longevity risk and the market risk in retirement.
Market downturns are really the most problematic for people who are about to retire, because that represents a real loss to them, right? As opposed to something that they can recover from over time.
$1 million in a retirement account 2 years ago is worth about $120,000 less today when adjusted for inflation.
If you're retired and on a fixed income, inflation really, really, really hurts. And we've come out of decades of historically low inflation to all of a sudden, a pretty substantial inflation, especially in the things that matter to people, which is, food and fuel.
I'm like anybody else. I like a good steak every now and then. Well, that's just plumb out of the question because you can't afford to buy that. You just have to buy what you merely have to have and then hope that you have enough left to pay your bills.
Inflation is higher than we've seen in a long time right now. We don't really know whether this is we're now in an era of high inflation or higher inflation, or whether it is a longer tail from effects of the pandemic.
An ongoing retirement crisis.
Let's talk about that, because these are some decisions that we may have to make even when we are not in retirement. Separating the needs from the wants. When inflation happens, when costs go up, you really have to determine, okay, do I need this item? Because my dollar won't stretch as far as it did last year. So what are my needs? Needs are typically your essentials, like your home, your food, your light, your gas, your insurance. Now your wants can be your tiramisu snacks that you don't absolutely need for your nourishment. It could be your favorite name brand products, right? You may drop down to the generic product. But what are those needs and wants? Because if you can eliminate those wants during a time where you're financially squeezed, then you'll be able to have more for your needs and you may be able to save more. Let's look at those little things that we can do depending on what's going on around us. There are always decisions that we can make. We always say your net worth is the sum of all the decisions that you make. So what decisions are you making today to be better than you were yesterday? No matter if everything is good in your life or if it's not so good, if it's chaotic, you still have to make a decision. And that decision is going to determine your outcome in life.
Reduces consumption and drains resources, which could be detrimental to the economy as a whole.
In terms of people who wind up falling into economic hardship during retirement, that is something that a lot of states have taken very, very seriously. And they're really concerned about, more and more seniors needing things like food stamps, subsidized housing, right, which is already in very low supply, and also Medicaid.
A hidden impact that doesn't get as much discussion is the impact on families. When an aging parent doesn't have the resources to care for themselves, or maybe they can't afford long-term care, they turn to their adult children.
This is not talked about as much. When you are creating your financial plan, it may not just be about you or your kids or your spouse. It may also be about your aging parents. Do they have the resources to take care of themselves in retirement? If not, you may be the person footing the bill for the housing, the medical costs, and everything else they may need. So you have to take that into consideration in your financial plan, right? Because you're saving for your retirement, but until you get there, you may have to help a family member out. Those are things that you want to think about on this journey.
As adult children step in to support them, this detracts from their own ability to save for retirement. So this could create a generational vicious cycle unless we solve for it.
But some argue that the retirement crisis in America is merely a myth.
The U.S. retirement system is strong. The income of the median retiree, the typical retiree in the United States, is at record levels. It's never been higher. Poverty in old age has never been lower. The median US retiree has the highest disposable income in the world, according to the OECD. 40% higher than Germany, 50% higher than the Netherlands. US retirees in surveys are much more likely than European retirees to say they can maintain their pre-retirement standard of living. So all the things we want people to do are going in the right direction.
In 2021, nearly 8 in 10 retirees were confident they'll have enough money to live comfortably throughout retirement, while over 7 in 10 workers agreed with the sentiment.
Nobody really has the incentive to tell the truth about the successes of the US retirement system.
4 in 5 retirees also reported that their overall lifestyle after retirement was as expected or better.
I think everyone agrees there are certain people who are falling behind in their retirement savings. That's true today. It was true in the past. And the question is, what do we do about it? The danger of claiming we have a retirement crisis is we throw the baby out with the bathwater. We throw out the things that are working for us, and we don't address the problems that really exist.
I think a lot of it is semantics almost. Most researchers do understand that there is a substantial portion of the population that are going to be financially insecure in retirement. There's some debate about whether that's, high 30s, 50s, 60%, but that's not a small portion of the population.
Policy will likely play a pivotal role in improving the state of retirement in America.
Retirement policy is one of the few things in this country that has a long and exemplary history of collaboration among both parties. What we need from a public policy perspective is a broader collaboration among industry, among employers, the great minds, academics, nonprofits, and everyday people to step back and take an even broader look at our retirement system and address the issues that are the greatest detractors of retirement security right now.
The Securing a Strong Retirement Act of 2022 was passed by the House in response to concerns over retirement security. The act includes many benefits that could help more Americans save for retirement, such as automatically enrolling employees into a retirement plan unless they elect not to participate. But issues concerning coverage still needs more attention. Almost half of the employees in the private sector between the age of 18 and 64 aren't provided with options to save for retirement. And about 65% of employees in companies with 10 to 24 employees lack retirement plans.
Improving retirement plan coverage, meaning ensuring that all workers have the ability to save for retirement in the workplace, is paramount to increasing retirement security in the U.S. We need to have a retirement system that is fully inclusive so that people have the opportunity to save, invest, and grow their savings over their lifetime.
Ultimately, retirement security today rests in the hands of future retirees.
Tip number 1, avoid getting overwhelmed. Getting overwhelmed can lead to procrastination and it can lead to inaction, which is counterproductive. Another is create a retirement strategy. Even have some fun with it. Envision what you would like your life to be like in the near future, or if you're younger, far away into the future, and then put some numbers by it. Start building a plan. Seek help if you need it. There are financial professionals available to help you with that. You have to engage. You have to learn as much as possible. So it's up to you to know enough to ask good questions and make informed decisions. It's your retirement.
You need to save. I know when you're young, you think, I don't need to save. I'll do that next time. We'll do this whenever. Do it now, because I'm telling you, you need to. If you plan on living any length of time, you need the extra money.
Wow. What did you think about that? I think it's so important that we take a dive into other people's lives and realities as an older adult to see what is keeping them up at night. And we can use that information to create our plan. But I would like to go through those 3 takeaways that they mentioned in the video. Number 1, avoid getting overwhelmed. So I know this sounds like a lot. Calculating how much you need for retirement, do you have enough? It can be overwhelming, but don't let that stop you from getting started. Take one step at a time. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can do right now to improve my situation? That one thing could be looking at all your expenses, looking at all your income, right? And seeing how much money you have left over after all your bills are paid. That's one step. Awareness is key to this. Two, it could be setting up a meeting with a financial planner so that you don't have to take on this work on your own. It can be a lot. And I feel that we are in a world where everybody has to be their own retirement planner, but there's so much to know. You don't know what your blind spots are. You don't know what you don't know. So reach out to financial people who can help you, who is on your money team. That's what I like to call it, your money team. Number two, create a strategy. So in order to create that strategy, you have to be realistic about the type of life you want to live later. Do you want to travel around the world? Do you want a dream house later on? Do you want to take care of grandkids or pay educational expenses for loved ones? What type of life do you really want? Where do you want to live? And how much will it cost for you to live that lifestyle? I like to create a vision board of that life to keep me focused, because once you know the end result, then you can work backwards and make sure all the pieces connect to get you to that end goal. Three, start building a plan. Like I said, you can work with somebody else if this is not your area of comfort. Work with an expert, a financial planner who can help you go through this. Watch YouTube videos so that you can know the right questions to ask when you meet with that planner. Just learn as much as possible. Be open to learning. We are all on a learning and growing process. And there's so much we can learn from other people, from our own experiences, from new laws that comes. There's just always something to learn. And like I said, the number one, that can be overwhelming. So just take it one step at a time and make sure that you are positioning yourself to create endless opportunities. So whether you are in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, ask yourself, am I getting the skills I need in order to grow at my job or as an entrepreneur? Am I positioning myself to be relevant and relatable in the next 5 or 10 years? What new things do I need to add to my portfolio so that I can continue to grow and add value? These are always questions that you're going to ask throughout your entire lifetime. But by starting now, you'll be in a better position to make better decisions. And that's what it's all about. At Wealthy Women Daily, we always say your net worth is the sum of all the decisions that you make. So what decisions are you making today to be better than you were yesterday? You can't really judge anybody else's decision. It's all about your decision, your life, and having that freedom and flexibility to choose what makes sense to you. So I hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and I hope you are going to start thinking about the retirement moves that you plan to make today. Set your retirement plan on autopilot so that you don't have to think about it. You can still live your best life while you are automatically saving for your future self. All right, make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Women Daily YouTube channel below. Comment below and let me know what you plan to do to make sure that you have the best retirement that you can dream of. All right.